conflict. My family is actually from the disputed region. And just my feelings about this as an Armenian American. So, first of all, let's talk about the Soviet Union and its downfall, and how this kind of is fueling conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan. And also, American Republicans are actually extremely financially vested in this conflict, and they have been for decades. So, when the Soviet Union collapsed, territories were kind of redrawn and imparted back to countries. There are generally three large disputed territories. There's conflicts over land are so hard to define when the land is disputed, so we'll stick to three main ones that have historically, for thousands of years, been occupied and lived in by Armenians. Generations, there are like thousands of years old Armenian churches there, but when these maps were drawn, they were imparted by the Soviet Union to Azerbaijan. So at these times, Azerbaijan began for the first time to recognize the biggest power player between these two countries is not actually Armenia or Azerbaijan. It's kind of a scary trinity of the US, Turkey, and Russia. So Turkey and Azerbaijan have significant alliance. Azeris actually identify with Pan-Turkism and Turkish ethnicity. So for example, my Azeri friend actually identifies as Turkish and says, yes, I speak Turkish, I'm technically Azeri, but in her mind, Turkish is, Pan-Turkism is an umbrella term. So Turkey has historically committed, as we know, genocides against Armenia. They do not recognize the genocide of Armenia. They do teach that, kind of formally, Armenians are like subhuman, and they have these like eugenist views, and I'm referring to the government of Turkey, not just the general people. So, Armenia sits in between Turkey and Azerbaijan. Donald Trump is the biggest property owner in Baku, the capital city of Armenia. He has like a Trump Towers there and a big Trump hotel resort, and he owns like pretty much everything else around it. And there is a mining company that works with both Azerbaijan and Turkey, and it's called Anglo Mining. The owner of Anglo Mining, the co-owner, is Sununu, former governor of New Hampshire. He's a Republican American politician. He's actually the biggest single political donor to the Trump campaign. And they are in the process of attempting to build a pipeline across Asia. They have construction actively, as well as active mining in Azerbaijan and also in Turkey. And the land of Artsakh, aka Nagorno-Karabakh, is like the next piece of territory in the way of the pipeline. So there's a corridor connecting Yerevan, the capital of Armenia, and Artsakh, called the Lachin corridor. So in 2019, escalating in 2020, Azeris went on offensive against Armenia for the territory of Artsakh, as well as control of the Lachin corridor. And their mission was to, quote-unquote, cleanse their territory. They were very open that this was an ethnic cleansing. They viewed the Armenians as like parasitic to their territory. The Armenian kind of ideological response is this has been Armenian territory for thousands upon thousands of years. These people have always lived here. This is their ancestral homeland. So all Armenians living in Artsakh were either killed or forced back to Yerevan, marching down the Lachin corridor. So at this time, Artsakh is now occupied by Azeri military forces. So you can actually go on YouTube, like Google Nagorno-Karabakh, 2025, for example, and you will see that these homes, which had housed Armenian families for thousands of years, are now used essentially as an Azeri military base as they prepare for additional offensives against Armenia. So all of this is basically a golden money grab mission for Donald Trump. So Donald Trump has announced a peace deal between Armenia and Azerbaijan. He showed our president and the president of Azerbaijan shaking hands in the White House with his hands like this. And he has renamed the Lachin corridor the Trump corridor for peace and prosperity. And I think Professor Ara in Watertown absolutely said it best. You cannot have peace when one party has their knee on your neck. And this is what I feel is the case in this current Armenian peace deal. Donald Trump is not securing peace for Armenians. And by the way, these Azeri offensives are a bit famous in military history for two reasons. It was the first conflict where drones were used in military offensives. And also it was a conflict that actually brought together Israeli IDF mercenaries, as well as majority Israeli weapons used by the Azeri, as well as ISIS mercenaries. So we saw the IDF and ISIS side by side, actually committing genocide and offensives in Armenia. And if you look at the pattern of how the genocide was taken out for the Artsakh, it was very much a testing ground for the current genocide in the Gaza. In fact, it's actually the same individuals, the same military, same soldiers, same weapons. And as an aside, something Donald Trump himself even acknowledged is that Armenia is a politically Christian nation. These people who have been murdered by both the IDF and ISIS in the name of Azerbaijan and Turkey are Christians. So this becomes very difficult to justify in conservative American Republican politics, because from a capitalist perspective, this genocide becomes justifiable if your values are that profit is more important than people. But from a religious perspective, it's very hard to justify when you are arming Muslim, self-identified terrorists and, Israeli people who are against the cause of Christianity and have a vested motive in persecuting Christians as well as Muslims. You are arming and supporting them to kill Christians in order for Trump to get profits from oil and gold. So this peace deal imparts the Lachin corridor to Azeri control. It allows them continue to set their military base in this kind of eastern border of Armenia / western border of Azerbaijan. It allows for the American use of this corridor, which I want to be clear, this corridor is set up as an international military base in collaboration with the IDF. What is Trump doing? He is bracing for offensives with Russia. Armenia is right there, south of Russia. This is the most strategic port, especially to Moscow. So this is not peace and prosperity for Armenia and Azerbaijan. This is money, power, profit, and world domination and World War III for Donald Trump. I'm sick to my stomach about it. I am so proud to be Armenian American. This is not Armenian. This is not American. And I want to say I respect the Armenian president for his decision, because he had no choice for the survival of his people other than the choice that he made. So I just want to call out the genocidal dictator who is using my country as a launching pad. Both my countries, Armenia and America. And I just want to make it clear what this is. And yeah, sorry for the scattered commentary. This is like even hard to process and verbalize out loud. But thank you for listening. Please feel free to share and help people understand what this peace nonsense is. And I pray for authentic, genuine peace where people can just live in their own space and be fine without having to serve any billionaires. So thank you.